Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. You are listening to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. Great to have you in the conversation today. Now, let's go ahead and start with a couple of more phone calls. We want to bleed off some more of this energy on the gun control issue. Then we're going to shift gears. But again, as I said, we'll still take calls over the course of this hour on the gun control issue. We may have some other topics you want to weigh in on. But we understand this is kind of a hot button for a lot of people that care about the Constitution. I mean, I care about the First Amendment. I care about the Second Amendment. I think they're both precious. They both protect inalienable rights. And we've got even Republicans now cooperating with Democrats to deprive us of a fundamental right of self-defense. Let's go to Mitchell, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mitchell, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me on the show.
You bet.
Always good to listen in. But I wanted to bring up the point that you mentioned earlier about physicians being able to put people on a list to not be able to get guns.
Right.
I honestly think that, no physician is just going to go left and right signing people up on this list. And if you are a physician that knows someone that should not, be wielding a gun, you don't want them to then get a phone call saying, hey, your physician called in and said you shouldn't have a gun. People like that are going to be the people that are going to go and kill their physician.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Mitchell, they're going to have no idea how they got on that list. And there's no way in the world that the government's going to tell them who put them on that list. They're not even going to know why they've been denied the permit. So and here's the other thing, Mitchell. Here's the other thing we got to realize. What could happen here is, a lot of people went after the psychologist of the Aurora shooter, and they've gone after the people that treated Adam Lanza in Connecticut, the mental health professionals that treated these people. And they're saying, why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you do something? Why didn't you offer better prescriptions? Why didn't you warn us about this guy? And a lot of heat came down on them for that. So what you're going to have is a doctor now, somebody comes into their office and they prescribe anti-anxiety medication, and just to protect themselves, they're going to put them on this list because they don't want somebody coming back at them and saying, hey, why didn't you do something to protect us from this individual? So I think what it's going to do is going to have exactly the opposite effect. You're saying no doctor is going to do this willy-nilly. I'm saying this is going to provide tremendous incentive to doctors and mental health professionals to slap as many names on this list as they can just to protect themselves from the blowback.
No, I disagree with you. I mean, if doctors had the ability to put people on the list, then we wouldn't have people like Adam Lanza having guns in the first place.
Yeah, but Mitchell, here's the problem. In America, we cannot and we must not punish people for what they might do. We cannot do that. There's no way we can punish people for the thoughts that they are thinking in their head. The law must only punish actions. Now, if somebody makes a credible threat against another individual, or they make a threat that they're going to go and shoot up a school, that's an action. That's a threat. It's directed against a specific target. You can act on that because that is an action. The act of issuing that threat, that's an action. We can respond to that. But we cannot start locking people up, Mitchell, because we think they might go off at some point. There's no way we can do that. That'd be completely un-American to do that.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between not allowing someone with a serious mental illness to have a gun compared to locking someone up for no reason, as you claim.
Yeah, but who's going to make that determination?
That's why we elect politicians, and to have politicians not even be able to discuss the gun debate it's eroding democracy rather than protecting the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but again, Mitchell, I think it's a dangerous thing to put a constitutional. Well, let me finish my thought, and then I'll let you respond. But it seems to me it's a very dangerous thing to put a constitutional right in the hands of a doctor. Why should a doctor be the one who decides whether I get to exercise my constitutional rights or not?
And my response, though, would probably be the fact that doctors they're not just some random Joe Schmo off the street. They go to school for many years. They're very practiced in what they do. So to suggest that they're just going to say, any random person that I interact with that, maybe is a little bit not normal is going to not be allowed to have a gun, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I would like to be as sanguine about human nature as you are, Mitchell, but I look at the malpractice insurance fees that these people have to pay. I look at the fact that they know they're vulnerable to lawsuits. They look at the attention mental health professionals got in the Aurora Theater shooting, the Newtown massacre, and they say, man, I got to protect myself. I've got a family to take care of. I've got a practice to run. I cannot afford not to take every precaution that's available to me. And who would blame them? I mean, I wouldn't blame them, for doing that. But again, that's not good public policy. All right, Mitchell, listen, I appreciate the exchange. Let's go to Joe Merle, Big Sandy, Tennessee. Joe, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
You were talking about Corker. I'm from Big Sandy, Tennessee. Alexander and Corker are from Tennessee.
All right, so Corker is a Tennessee guy. This is amazing to me. This is the home.
I think both of them just made their own notes for the next election.
Man, this is the home of the Tennessee Volunteers.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable. So you got both the senators from Tennessee, Alexander and Corker, voted this morning against the Second Amendment.
Yeah, and there's a lot of former military around here. I myself spent almost 8 years in the Marine Corps. We got Navy guys. We got former Army. They just don't know what they've done.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you there. Well, listen, I appreciate that clarification, Joe. Corker is from the state of Tennessee, so thank you for that information. Let's grab a quick call from John, Meridian, Mississippi. John, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind? John, are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yes. I have an idea about all this. It seems to have just skyrocketed recently, and with the gun issue and our rights, it seems to me that if several radio talk shows like yourself and a couple of other had a what's called a mobilization segment of your show, as to explain to Americans what we can do to protect ourselves from this getting even more out of control, because a lot of Americans are hearing it, but they don't really know what to do. They don't know how to go about mobilizing with one another, networking with one another, and getting the government's attention as to how to control this is headed. Because I know that they don't want to revolt, but at the same time.
Well, and I appreciate your call, and thank you for that. And John, that's what we're trying to do here by giving out the phone number. I mean, the best way to influence legislation is for constituents to call their representatives. I mean, we just heard from somebody that Richard Burr's phone line has basically been melted down. It's just melted down. People can't get through. So trust me. I mean, they know when people are calling and they're not happy. Trust me, that registers. I'd be willing to bet Richard Burr's going to get his mind right on the next vote. Back in 2.